this idea of this talk came to me one day. I was attending Leeds PHP last month before, something like that. And one of the principal engineers here in gaming, Ash, was giving a talk about what it means to be a senior engineer. And there was a question from somebody in the audience after Ash had kind of explained a few various things about what it means to be a senior engineer. And they said, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to code. And I was like, oh man, that's quite a powerful statement, you know? It's a big one, especially after somebody's just spoken about all the various different things that go into being a senior engineer. So anyway, I thought, well, this is a talk in here. So yeah, I think there is a talk in here because code is fun and awesome. And that's really, why wouldn't you want to just code? Because code is fun, code is awesome. You get to work on a variety of different things. You can use it to do various different things, whether you're making massive applications or command line tools. Gron there, Tom. And or whether you're making games, whether you're making big AAA blockbusters, or whether you're messing about in Pico 8, whether you're working on your own or as part of a team, or whether you're working face-to-face, working on part of a community project on GitHub. You know, there's so many different ways that code can take you in so many interesting and fantastic places. So why wouldn't you want to be doing it all day long? Why wouldn't you want to just code? So another example of like how code can be fun. I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story, and this is a story from nearly 8 years ago. 8 years ago, I posted this tweet. And this was a tweet where in the office one day, one of our members of staff, Rob Peckett, he'd been writing some code, and he was writing a value that stored an array of values, and he called it val array. And he put the comment next to it, why don't you come on over? And so we were just like, that's amazing, mate. So we started writing up, like, how can we do music in code? Again, code, it's inclusive, it's social, it's fun. So we wrote a tweet, we started doing a few other tweets, and sadly they're lost to the ages, but that was the first tweet with the hashtag, and that's why it's there. So we wrote that. It's not the best, it's terrible. Actually, as an example, it's not even interesting, but it is the first. And the reason I say it's the first is because then the rest of the morning, some of us in the office and then related friends on Twitter, we would all sort of make a few more and post these on. It was like, haha, this is great, this is our little game, and wow, we're amazing because we're such nerds. And I remembered this tweet that I'd seen a couple of months before, from CodePo8, and he hadn't used the hashtag. He just posted it because he thought it was something interesting and funny. But because we were already doing this, I retweeted it, and 8 years ago, that's how you retweeted on Twitter. You had to manually type RT in front of it. So that was my manual retweet of CodePo8, who is Chris Heilman, who at the time was a developer evangelist for Yahoo, and he now has 58,400 followers. He had probably a roughly the same back then, even 8 years ago, because he does the speaking circuit, he does conferences. He did some as well. And then when Chris did it, a few more people joined in, and then a lot more people joined in. And before we knew it, Songs in Code was trending worldwide, and it actually went to #2 trending topic in the world. And we had an article in the Metro and in Telegraph, and local tech person John Leach did a video where he actually sung a song in code based on the song originally. Anyway, yeah. There was a slight little bit appeal to it. We had a bit of an argument really between us about who really started this kind of thing. You know, it's coming from Tom there, and but it's all right because Andy and Chris are friends now. But it's just a nice little story about how code can bring people together, can inspire creativity, even on its own and even kind of in isolation to anything else. Should point out as well, people are still tweeting on that hashtag 8 years later. That one there, you can't quite see it, but that's from February 14th this year. So 8 years on and people are still using it. Just an interesting little one. So code can be fun. There's always always other things to think about when you're coding. I gave a talk last year about becoming beyond full stack engineering, and this is a slide taken from that talk, and it's about how if we think of this as being a full stack engineer, where it's front end development, back end development, and ops in between, and those are your core competencies, I argued that if you were to become a really true great developer, that you should take on empathies from other roles, such as BA, test, Scrum Master, design, any of the other people who work in your team. You should be able to use their skills, their responsibilities to become better than just a developer. And then in the middle of that, just because I love Keynote animations, behavioural skills. So the ability to talk to people, the ability to understand what it means as a business concern, and all those other things to really round out and become better than the sum of your parts. And I think everyone understands that being a developer, being an engineer, is more than just coding, no matter how fun and awesome coding is. And that's why you still hear people saying, I just want to code. And even if people don't say it, they can feel it. And you can feel it in your teams. You can feel it as a manager. You can feel it when people are feeling that way, even if they're not overtly coming out and saying it. So you might have never said it, but you might have felt it that yourself. You sure as hell have worked with people and felt that kind of sentiment coming from them. And really that's what this talk is about. It's about getting to the heart of that and talking about what it means to feel that sentiment, not just to the person who's saying it or feeling it, but to the people around them, the people who work with them, the people who manage them. So if somebody comes to you as a manager and says, I just want to code, your immediate reaction is, geez, you can't say that. You just can't say that. But if you're a good manager, you start questioning it yourself and you start thinking about what it really means. And it's not always about the individual that's saying it. There's quite often things at play that you can do something about. You know, does it mean by saying, I just want to code, that we're not concentrating enough on technical work, that our code's not that good, that our structure's too rigid to try and make changes to that code base? Is our technical stack out of date? Is it frustrating to get stuff done? You know, does it mean that our team's not as good as it can be? Is the balance of the work wrong for that person? Is it that that person's been depended on by too many people or not enough people, depending on what kind of person they are, for making technical decisions? Or is it a more human thing? Are there personality issues within that team? Are there just problems in getting things done as a team? Does it mean that, you know, we're not in there and actually helping these people? Have we listened to the people in the past? Have we ignored people in the past? Have we said we'll do something and we haven't? Does it mean that actually what we've got is we've centred it around not really making it right for individuals, and we've got a structure that's so rigid that we're not able to accommodate people with different skills and different kind of interests? Do we understand what people want to achieve, and can we offer it? These are all things that, as a manager, you can think, but if you're feeling that way, you can think about yourself. If you know that it exists, and if you really want to understand what it is about, why you're feeling that way. And really, it's like, how well do we support people? That's what it all comes down to as a manager. How well do we support people? As a team member, how well do we support each other? And how well are we able to adapt? And it's not to say that there's necessarily anything wrong at the heart of that statement. The person who's saying it has their own view on it. But they might not have really considered what other factors it is to lead them to say, I just want to code and I'm frustrated. If you're a manager, you might want to eke it out of them to make them understand it, and you could ask them a really incendiary question like, does that mean you don't care about anything but coding? Their reaction is likely going to be, it's not what I meant. They're going to have the shock, disappointment, disbelief that the manager or the person in the team had when they realised the other person was feeling that way. Or it could be one of defiance. Yeah, you're right, don't care about anything else but coding. So anywhere on that spectrum, it's just as important to sort of drill into it and try and work out what it is that matters to that person. You know, do you care about why you're coding? You know, code in itself is completely valueless. If you've got some code that never runs, it's worth nothing. Absolutely nothing. Code does nothing on its own. You know, you've got to think about what the code is for. Is it for a person? Is it for a product? What's the reason for it being there? What are you trying to achieve with the code? When would you be happy with the code? How comfortable are you in deciding what to make in the first place? Do you want to decide what to make? Are you happy in understanding that things don't just come out of thin air? Code has never appeared on the screen by somebody with no purpose. Now, this is one that you will very, very rarely get somebody saying, no, I'm not interested in that. Every engineer has an opinion on code, and every engineer has an opinion on other people's code, very much so. If you find me somebody who is not interested in how code is put together as an engineer, I would be astounded. But it's not just about that, it's about the languages you work in, the frameworks you've chosen, the design patterns that you've taken, the ways of working within the team, and whether or not you use pairing or any other different types of methodology. Whether you have regular code reviews, these are all things about, do you care about this kind of stuff? How happy is this person and the team that's around and with those choices? Do they have the power to make changes in those choices? About how it works and runs. You know, you've got the very obvious things about how it performs. You've got the very obvious things about how it looks and feels. Do you care about that kind of stuff? Do you care about getting rejected by someone and you're writing code, you're writing great quality code, but it's not fulfilling the purpose? Do you care about that? What about the performance of it? You know, if it runs slowly, causes servers to grind to a halt, do you care about that? What about if it crashes a lot? What about if you're going to get called because that happens? Do you care about that? What about the actual servers that it goes on? Do you care about maintaining those? Do you want to know how it gets there? Do you want to know how it runs? Most coders at least care about that a bit, even if they want it to be taken out of their hands. But if they want it taken out of their hands, they want it to be taken out of their hands really well. Do you not care about who's going to use it? You know, even if it's a command line interface or an API, someone is going to use that. And if somebody's going to use that, you need to care about why. Even if it's just that little bit to say, I just care that they're not going to attack me on this. What happens if you break someone's workflow because of a change you made? Do you care about that? You know, if no one uses what you've made, how does that make you feel? Nobody finds out what you've done. How does that make you feel? These are all kind of things that from that very simple statement of, I just want to code, what does it mean? What does it mean? And we're trying to get there, you know? What happens when it's done? Do you care about deploying it? Do you care about getting it out there? Do you care about marketing it? Do you care about selling it? Do you care about making sure that people continue to use it and use it in other things? Do you care about how many places it can be used in? There's so many different things that are done, you know? And again, it comes back to how useful is code in itself. Nobody in the history of software development has ever been satisfied in writing code that nobody ever runs and that has no reason to be written. So just writing code means nothing. What are you writing the code for? What makes you want to write code? So not all those areas are about code, but they are certainly related in some way or another. And it really comes down to just wanting to do stuff you care about. That's it. I want to concentrate on the stuff I care about. That's what it really boils down to. You start off with code and it's all the other stuff. After a certain amount of reflection, you might get a little bit further there, whether it's by yourself, whether it's by using your manager, whether it's by talking it over with your teammates. But there's always further work to be done. How do you feel about all the other stuff? You know, so if that's the stuff you care about, what about the other stuff? Does that matter? Is it that you actually don't see value in any of that other stuff whatsoever? Or is it just that the way that we do things is so bad and so blocking that you can't care about it and you just want it to change? Is it that you think everybody else is much better off doing the other stuff than you are because your time's better served? You know, who does the other stuff if you're doing the bits you care about? What should happen? What do you think you can do about it? And how can we change things? If we were to change things, what might it look like? What do you actually want to see? What's important to you? I appreciate all I'm doing is asking questions. I have been on a coaching course, it's quite obvious. But for the individual themselves, it is within them to understand what it is that they really care about and how it might take place. As an organisation, as a person, as a part of a team, as an individual, how effective is the way that we do things? And if what needs to change for it to be better? So really it comes down to, I just want to do stuff that I'm good at, or should be good at. It can be, some people have that sentiment and they can have really strong self-worth. I just want to do what I'm good at. That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I should be doing. Others can feel it because they've got a proper lack of confidence, and actually what they feel is a core value of what makes them do their role as a software developer is they're not doing it. Those skills have atrophied. So it's just frustration on either side about not being able to get on and concentrate on those kind of things. So what is it that people are best at? What's the crux of it? What do they really want to focus on? And if that is the case, what is it that they're not so good at? And is it important to them that they identify that? Because most people would agree that playing to your strengths is the best thing that you can do. Working on a weakness is only going to take you so far. Concentrating on something that you're good at is great. But identifying what it is that you're not so good at, that might be the crux of the problem. That might be what's really annoying them, the fact that they're not so good at something, or that other people around them are so much better at them and they feel left behind. But how important is it to that person to get better at it? Does it matter at all? Might not matter at all. Like I said, they might be quite happy playing to their strengths, and if they are quite happy to play to their strengths, why are we even talking about it? It's where it all comes down to what happens next. Like code that never gets run, having a conversation and having to think about what it is that matters to you is only useful if you do something about it. If you're not going to do anything about it, you're wasting your air and everybody around you. You're getting stressed out for no reason, and you're doing it. You need to do something about it. So we need to be able to answer that, and it's always within that person. So I guess what it comes down to is, a statement can be that I just want to code. It's a big statement, but really it doesn't matter. You can change that for test, design, manage, even if you're crazy enough. Create. You want to feel useful, be fulfilled. You just want to win. That's what you want to do, right? You want to do good stuff. That is the crux of it. You just want to do great work. That's it. And that is it for the talk.